Sound. Oh, it might be no. I didn't realize that there was no sound. The sound is back now. So a very good morning once again, and let's just go back to where we were earlier before the sound. Oh, it might be no. I didn't realize that there was no sound. The sound is back now. Let's kick back. Oh, yeah, the sound is back. Okay, well, Facebook and the sound is that. So we're back on, and let's quickly continue. But before we do that, while I'm preparing that, let's just listen to this man one more time.
Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits. They kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
I got this legacy while I'm getting ready for the next one.
Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. With the armed bandits. They kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Let's go back now, and I was actually giving us a bit of background from this point of view. Let me take some of these browser down, which can be having effect. We've talked about Tel Aviv. We've talked about that. I was actually talking about this particular section called the global protest tracker. Iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ní pé gbogbo ibi tí protest bá wà lágbàáyé, wọ́n máa monitor ẹ̀, wọ́n á follow ẹ̀. And that also helps, the international community to see where they can put a kind of assistance. So let's go and look at Nigeria, somewhere right there. Where is Nigeria? Yeah, Nigeria, Lele, Morilenko. Yeah, that's Nigeria. So, ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ wo àwọn event tó ṣẹlẹ̀, maybe recently or slightly last year or the year before. Níbi tí Nàìjíríà ti pop up. Ṣé rí pé gbogbo protest táwa ṣe, rally tá ṣe, kò really pop up lórí the global tracker, the global protest tracker. Apart from the one tí wọ́n ṣe ní June 2021, which is Democracy Day protest, there was also the EndSARS in 2020. Ìyẹn jáde because they look at it from the peak of 10,000. It was a political reason. people came out. It lasted for 3 months, according to what they put there. But the Democracy Day is just a one day. So when we are talking about coming out for protest, everybody, way forward. What I mean by way forward? The way forward is everybody should have it at the back of their mind that we will come out at probably the slightest time. Tó bá tún ká jáde kó wá ká fọ́n síta ká jáde. Ibi tó ní ká jáde náà ní Ogun State. Ìbá àwọn fíìmù ló jáde. Way forward, way forward ní orí social media lẹ ti ń béèrè. Wọ́n ní ká jáde ẹ̀ jáde síta. Kí ni way forward? Kí ni way forward? Kí ni way forward? Àdúgbò fáwọn tó jáde. Táwọn tó jáde yàn bá jáde ńkọ́. Ẹ ń béèrè pé kí ni way forward? Kí ni way forward? Kí ni way forward? But wọ́n ní ká jáde ẹ̀ ní jáde síta. Ẹ ń dúró de Jésù Kristi kó wá gbà yín. Ẹ ń dúró de Ànábì Muhammad kó wá gbà yín. Ẹ ń dúró de ìṣẹ̀ṣe kó wá gbà yín. We're fooling ourselves. Nígbà tó ní ká jáde l'Ogun State, èèyàn mélòó ló jáde tó bá ń ṣe pé ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ àwọn tó jáde? Èèyàn mélòó ló jáde l'Ọ̀yọ́ State? Ṣé everybody ń sá? Torí pé ti rí miracle everybody ń wá. Miracle ọ̀dẹ̀ lè solve problem tó wà nílẹ̀, èèyàn ló máa solve ẹ̀. Míyàn kankan bá ń dúró de miracle, you will be sitting down there and waiting for a very long time. There's not going to be any miracle coming to help anybody. Asking the same question. Kí ni way forward? Kí lẹ́mí pé kí ni way forward? Eléyìí tí mo ti sọ látàn nǹkan kan ṣe way forward. Ẹ máa tọrọ yín níbẹ̀. À ń sọ nǹkan tó máa fún yín ní peace of mind pé báwa bẹ́ẹ̀ bá jáde, there is evidence that bí Nigerian government bá fẹ́ gbọ́wọ́kọ́wọ́, there are people that will monitor it from outside the country. And part of those people that will also monitor it is the people they called crisis group. Àwọn eléyìí iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ní pé ibo ni crisis wà. Fẹ́ jẹ́ kí crisis wà. Everybody does not like crisis, but ẹ fẹ́ gba nation. I don't know how that is going to work. Fẹ́ crisis. Because I don't like a crisis, but àgbáyé crisis gbọ́dọ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ kí nǹkan kó tó take effect. But everybody lives in denial. We are living in denial. That's our problem. À ń pariwo láti 3 years pé tá a bá máa fi máa dé towards the end, a máa make a push. No, ẹ má make a push kankan mọ́ o. Ẹ jẹ́ ká kọ̀ọ̀rọ̀ a máa ṣe nísìnyí o, because Jésù Kristi ti dé o, Ànábì ti dé o, oníṣẹ̀ṣe ti dé o. And at the end of the day, everybody wá àti wá fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn nísìnyí. Ìfẹ́ àti fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn. So Ọlọ́run wá stupid. Ẹ rò pé Ọlọ́run stupid níbi tó jókòó sí, tó ń wò wá pé àìtí mọ̀ta fẹ́ ṣe. Tábà mọ̀ta fẹ́ ṣe ni àbọ̀ sójú títì. I shut it down. So crisis group, iṣẹ́ táwọn máa ń ṣe ni pé they look at where crisis is happening around the world. Crisis group watch list identify 10 countries facing deadly conflict, humanitarian emergency, or other crises in 2022. In these places, early action, driven or supported by the European Union and its member states, could save lives and enhance prospect for stability. So it is only when we come out in our thousands and millions that the EU will probably look into our crisis. They're not going to declare a nation, but they will look into kí ló fa crisis ní Nigeria. Crisis ìdánwò ní Nigeria ní sí ni pé there is intercommunion fight between us. Pé èmi àti àwọn Mùsùlùmí kan jà, èmi àti àwọn Kìrìsìtẹ́nì kan jà. Ṣé ìjà yẹn là ń jà nísìn? Àbí ìjà right to self-determination? Àbí pé hunger wà ní north part of Nigeria nítorí pé the terrorism tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ is another crisis. But crisis táwọn sọ nísìn ni pé the crisis of the right to self-determination. Tí crisis yẹn ò bá ṣẹlẹ̀, we are not going anywhere. It's as simple as that. We are not going anywhere. A kàn máa ṣe conversation tá à ń ṣe yìí, conversation, because kò sẹ́ni kankan tó fẹ́ crisis. Ẹ má jẹ́ kí crisis ṣẹlẹ̀ o, ẹ fẹ́ tàjẹ̀ sílẹ̀ ní o, Koiki àti Ìgbòho àtàwọn ọmọ Igbo, ẹ fẹ́ pa gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá. But àwọn tó wà nínú Nàìjíríà gan ẹ ti wà in crisis already, because you are dealing with crisis on a daily basis in terms of your life. Nothing is working anyway. So kí lè àkókò add more crisis tó wà nínú Nàìjíríà kí gbogbo ẹ lè fò pátápátá. No, ẹ má ṣe yẹn o. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi kọ́ Jésù lọ́rùn. and everybody ti wá fi kọ́ Jésù lọ́rùn nísìn. You're watching a live transmission. It's just coming up to 10:38 a.m. Sunday, January 8th, 2023. My name is OLAMILEKAN, and I welcome you all. Everybody does not want crisis. And in reality, crisis gives you the upper edge. Mo a bit of countries. Let's look at Sudan. Sudan towards a reset for transition. This was January last year. January last year, kò tí pé 1 year. Because on the 27th of January 2023, ló ṣe máa pé 1 year. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ níbẹ̀? Ẹ jẹ́ ká follow conversation ni. The failure to reach a consensus between the civilian population and the military has led to the resignation of Sudan's prime minister. The failure láti pé kó reach a consensus. Ǹjẹ́ táwa náà bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ wàhálà, ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis, ǹjẹ́ failure yẹn ó lè collapse the Nigerian government? Yes, it's possible, but nobody wants us to go into the crisis mode. All they want us to do is káwá máa sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation. Wọ́n ti kówó jẹ, kò ní dá fún yín níbẹ̀ yẹn, ọmọ àlè ní yín níbẹ̀ yẹn, wèrè ní yín níbẹ̀ yẹn, kí ló ń ṣe níbẹ̀ yẹn, ìyẹn la fi máa sọ. And then we use that to forget about the real problem tó wà níwájú wa. Knowing fully well that you cannot come out of Nigeria without a crisis. Gbogbo ẹnu mo fi máa sọ, mo ti sọ láti 3 years. But ẹ̀ ń dúró káwọn leader yìí kan sọ fún yín pé crisis máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o, ká tó lọ o. No, they're not going to tell you that. I can tell you that because I'm talking from the media perspective, using the case study of something that has happened in the past and that is still happening in the present. Crisis must start. Without crisis, we are going nowhere. Merry-go-round. But now, ìgbà tó yẹ kí crisis ìbẹ̀rẹ̀, towards the end of last year, everybody was now in kind of disarray. Oríṣiríṣi nǹkan mi ló kàn jáde. Èyí tó yẹ kí crisis ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ká fi shut down inú government pé nígbà ẹ ti ń pa wá, ẹ ti pa gbogbo wa, ẹ ti ṣe this. Everybody start changing the narratives. Intergbeni gbogbo end of last year is completely different. After 3 years, that is ṣe wàhálà bọ̀. 3 years down the line, tó jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí lock government pé nígbà sẹ́ẹ̀. We no go gree o. No. Èmi ò fẹ́ jẹ́ kọ́pọ̀ àwọn ọmọ wa o. Koiki àti Igboho ẹ fẹ́ tẹ̀jẹ̀ sílẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. But wọ́n tẹ̀jẹ̀ sílẹ̀ lójoojúmọ́. Ẹ wá ń bè mí nísìnyí pé kí ni way forward? Ṣebí everybody was going in the line of pé kò ní sí no, ẹ má jẹ́ kí problem wá o, kò sí crime. Koiki nìkan ló fẹ́ dá crisis sílẹ̀ o. And everybody is looking for way forward. Ẹ fẹ́ fi diplomacy gba Yorùbá nation nínú Nàìjíríà. You must be fooling yourself. You must be fooling yourself. Ẹ fẹ́ fi diplomacy, ẹ fẹ́ fi gba Yorùbá nation. Níbo ló ti máa fi gbà? Ẹ ń díbọ́n ni. The failure to reach consensus between the civilian population and the military has led to the resignation of the Sudan Prime Minister. In this excerpt, from the Watch List 2022, Crisis Group urges the European Union and its member states to press the authority to maintain ceasefire and stop violence against protesters and support a possible transition and the UN effort to forge consensus in Sudan. But àwọn ọ̀fẹ́ yẹn nísìn, mo ń sọ fún yín pé tí kò bá di crisis tí European Union máa force the Nigerian government padà wá sórí table pé no. In tó ń béèrè fún yìí, ṣé right wọn ni òun lọ́kọ sí bíbá? Pé wọ́n ní kó sọ fún European Union àtàwọn members wọn pé ó ti di dandan pé kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ceasefire ní Sudan. So tẹ́yìn sọ pé military máa pa yín, military Nigeria ò lè pa yín because n tó bá ti mú àwọn EU àtàwọn countries tó wà níta tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ fún Nigeria pé there must be a cease. Yes, there might be probably maybe 10 or 5 people will die, or maybe 100 people, or probably maybe 200 people, or maybe 1,000 people. But ìyẹn máa fún wa ní leverage láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ fún government pé yes, are serious. but no Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó pa wá èmi náà ń gbàdúrà Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó pa wá o but ẹ wà nínú Nàìjíríà economy yẹn á pa yín because ẹ ní rí ṣe nínú Nàìjíríà kò ń ṣépè ni mo sọ redeem pastor yóò bá máa gbàdúrà fún yín ẹ ní rí ṣe nínú Nàìjíríà because Nàìjíríà ti lulẹ̀ Bàbá Adébóyè ò bá máa gbàdúrà every Sunday pé àwọn ọmọ ọ̀dọ́ máa rí ṣe irọ́ ló pa because economy Nàìjíríà ò ní jẹ́ kẹ́ rí ṣe ẹ máa lọ sọ́jà ẹ ní rí nǹkan tẹ́lẹ̀ ìrà padà wá sílé because rice sì máa di 100,000 naira kẹ́ tó parí ìjọba tó ń bọ̀ ẹ tí mọ̀ kankan tẹ̀bẹ́ mi ni mò ń dá wàhálà sílẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ káwọn chọ́ọ̀chì máa sọ fún yín pé àdúrà yín gbà pé kò ní ẹ jẹ́ mo yóò yà ni mo sọ ṣé gàrí ló sì chíìpù jù ẹ ní rí gàrí rà mọ́ gan tó bá yá gbogbo gàrí tẹ́ máa jẹ́ gan sẹ̀ China lọ́ọ́ tí máa gbé wá fún yín à ń sọ fún yín pé ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis àwọn chọ́ọ̀chì sọ fún yín pé no ẹ má bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis ẹ jẹ́ ká dúró ẹ má bẹ̀rẹ̀ wàhálà o ẹ má tẹ̀lé àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá nation o àwọn ló fẹ́ dá wàhálà sílẹ̀ o but at the end of the day there is millions of you that is already inside a bondage because of the economic negligence of the shithole country 22 trillion naira ní bọ́jẹ̀tì tó kà fún 2023 ẹ mọ̀ pé gbèsè tó wà lórí Nàìjíríà wọ́n máa láti tún lọ yá owó láti fi ṣe bọ́jẹ̀tì 2023 tàwa náà ẹ̀ nǹkan Nàìjíríà ò lówó foreign reserve yìí ó ti wà ní zero kò sówó kankan nínú foreign reserve yìí ìwọ náà yà pé ṣe máa tètè jápa bó jẹ́ Libya ló máa tẹ̀ sáré lọ ó lọ sí Libya tọ́lọ́ máa dẹ̀ jẹ́ kó rí ṣe níbẹ̀ wàá ráwọn àjàní àjàlá níbẹ̀ tó bá bẹ́ẹ̀ ríṣẹ́ tó bá dẹ̀ lè wọ UK tó bá lè tòwú ẹ̀ dáadáa kó wọlé but tó bá ti claim asylum ní bíbá Rwanda ló padà sí o so jẹ́ tètè máa ronú dáadáa tó bá ti wọlé ṣá make sure pé o claim asylum because tó bá ti mú ẹ claim asylum nínú UK wọ́n ń gbé padà lọ sí Rwanda nìyẹn tó bá dẹ̀ dé Amẹ́ríkà wàá wà níbẹ̀ o lè má níwèé pọ̀ wàá máa gbé níbẹ̀ comfortable wàá máa jẹ bọ́gà wàá dẹ̀ máa tóbi àìmọye ọmọ Nàìjíríà wà níbẹ̀ nísìn bí ṣe ń bẹ sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí nísìn wọn níwèé ẹlòmíì ti wà níbẹ̀ nísìn 7 years kò jẹ́ pé mo fi ń dẹ́rù bẹ̀ àdúrà tèmi ni pé kí ìwọ náà rí ìlú kan kó sá lọ kó wá mọ bó ṣe ń rí the failure to reach consensus pé between the civilian and the military only the designation the Sudan Prime Minister ìyẹn ní last year but wọ́n wá tún sọ fún àwọn EU àwọn crisis group nìyẹn o so àwọn kan wà tó máa jà on our behalf ìyẹn ni a máa sọ pé Ọlọ́run ní wá irú àwọn ilé nísìn àwọn ò fi jẹ́ kó pààyàn nínú ìdàdèsílẹ̀ tí ń pọ̀ jù Nàìjíríà o EU àwọn máa pariwo síta àwọn máa pariwo ìlú náà máa pariwo àwọn mídíà tó kù máa pariwo á bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pick traction gbogbo mídíà àgbáyé á bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbé kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà kí ló dé tó ń yin helicopter ṣé war zone ni no wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ fún ẹ̀tọ́ wọn ni o and eventually there will be a cease gbogbo movement yẹn kò ní sí Nàìjíríà mọ́ kò dẹ̀ ní selection wọ́n ní kerosene ti di 850 naira okay ó kù díẹ̀ kerosene of 50 naira now 850 ó jì máa di 2000 naira nílé tẹ̀mbà rẹ̀ àdí Nàìjíríà ò lówó mọ́ Nàìjíríà ti lulẹ̀ so gbogbo àwọn politician yẹn nǹkan ṣe nísìnyí pé kọ́ ṣáà keep Nàìjíríà kọ́ hold Nàìjíríà so those of you that are asking what next prepare your mind prepare your loved ones for crisis because there must be crisis before you get the hell out of Nigeria. Let's continue. Sudan wants promising transition. The importance of Sudan in terms of the border, in terms of, just as Nigeria is important to the world, but the moment there is crisis, then the world becomes uncomfortable. But at the moment there is no crisis in Nigeria. Gbogbo tó kàn sọ ni pé election ń bọ̀ terrorists dey wà as long as tọ́ba ṣàtìlẹ́yìn ṣe pé terrorists wá síbi tẹ́sí máa vote. That's all. Sudan, once promising transition away from autocratic rule, has veered off. On 25th of October 2021, the country's general disposed the civilian-led cabinet in a coup which is likely to still happen in Nigeria. There can be coup in Nigeria at any time. Prepare your mind for such. Abruptly ending the civilian-military power sharing arrangement. That was to steer the country to free election. Europe official election, àwọn military plan láti ṣe coup. So olúkàlùkù ń tan rẹ̀ under Nigeria. Ìyẹn ni Bàbá Adébóyè ṣe sọ pé Ọlọ́run ti fún àwọn ẹni tó máa jẹ president in Nigeria. I was even watching the video yesterday. He actually had a video and let me see if I can get that video on Linda Ikeji. Let's play that video. Ó ní ẹ̀yin lazy youth lẹ́ ń lọ sí campaign. Ẹ̀yin tí ebi ń pa. Ẹ túbọ̀ máa lọ campaign wọn nǹkan àkókò ń parọ́ fúnra wọn. Messed up country. Lies everywhere. Linda ìkejì wa okay òun lélẹ̀. Kí ló tún ṣẹlẹ̀ o? 2 hours ago, passenger kidnapped, many injured as gunmen attack train station in Edo. Welcome to Nigeria. Àníṣe ẹ̀jẹ̀ moyoya. Gunmen wọ́n attack àwọn èèyàn ní orí train ní Edo. Gunmen have abducted scores of passengers from a train station in Ijube local government area of Edo State. The victims were waiting to board a train to Warri in Delta State when the attackers struck on Saturday in Yelano. Spokesman of the command, Chidi, who confirmed the incident. So that means pé wàhálà àníṣe tí rí kankan. Èmi ni kẹ́ máa bá jà. So story yẹn lélẹ̀ 2 hours ago ó ti wà lórí channels. Tí mo yẹ terrorist tó wà ní Nàìjíríà. Ó bẹ́tà ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis ká lè stop gbogbo ilé tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí. No. Koiki ló fẹ́ kọ̀bọ̀ fún gbogbo èèyàn tó máa pààyàn. Ṣé mi ni terrorist tó jí àwọn èèyàn gbé nísìn ní Edo? Ìbéèrè ni wọ́n béèrè o. Scores kidnapped, many injured tó sọ yẹn only God knows how many have died. Tó bá sọ pé n tó fi lè mú channels because channels lè lè nísìn àbí ìdí website wọn lè lè òun náà ni ìbáwọn lè believe channels. Ẹ̀yin expect kí channels máa bá yín sọ Yorùbá nation. Ẹ̀yin expect kí ṣíṣe wọn kí n tó olóyè kó invite mi wá kí wọn. Ó mọ̀ pé tí bá wá sọ̀rọ̀ lórí Yorùbá nation lórí politics today mo bà gbogbo ẹ̀jẹ̀ fún wọn nìyẹn. Wọn ò ní jẹ́ kémi wá sọ̀rọ̀ wọn ò dẹ̀ ní jẹ́ kí bàbá Akíntóyè wá sọ̀rọ̀. So but tá bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis channels television ò ní ẹni wọn ò ní choice nítorí pé ó máa àwọn staff wọn bí gan ní ráyè débi iṣẹ́ mọ́ because màtá wá ti block gbogbo títì tíyàn kọkàn ń lọ sẹ́niwẹ̀ mọ́ but à ń dúró de Jésù Kristi kó wá gbà wá sílẹ̀. Jésù ń bọ̀ lóòótọ́ ó kù díẹ̀. Police authority in Edo State says scores tó bá pè nǹkan ní scores wọ́n ò lè ṣe nọ́mbà iye èèyàn tó jí gbé kábíyèsí Elédùmarè 100 ní 50 ní ẹ gbàgbé àbẹ kékeré rán yín létí pé it was only last year náà ní train attack ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ní Kaduna Abuja. Dr. Chinelo was killed. So many people were killed. Ṣé kò tí tó kí crisis bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà lórí yẹn? No, ẹ má da crisis sílẹ̀ o. Koiki ló fẹ́ kó bọ̀ fún yín tó fẹ́ pa gbogbo yín o. Ṣé èmi ní owó láti ra ìbọn? Ṣé èmi ní owó láti ra ìbọn kó fún yàn? Màá tún wá ní kọ́ wá pọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá torí kí n tí Frank Bello sọ nìyẹn. Mo sọ pé kò ní làákàyè àgbàlagbà. Ìyá mi kan tẹ̀ ní kí yẹn dárúkọ ẹ̀ pé kí dédé tí mo ṣe dé dárúkọ ẹ̀. Èèyàn sọ pé mo fẹ́ kóbọ̀ fáwọn èèyàn. Ṣé èmi ni mo lọ kóbọ̀ fáwọn tí wọ́n lọ kidnap àwọn èèyàn nísìn ní Edo train station? Ní sọ òtítọ́. Owó orí yẹn nísìn mo yóò yà ká tó lọ. Ṣẹ́rí ká tó lọ yẹn brain yìí máa bá yín reset dáadáa. Ṣé ní ẹ̀fẹ̀ gbọ́ ẹ̀fẹ̀ gbà ni ẹ fẹ́ fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn ẹ fẹ́ fi Yorùbá nation nísìn ẹ fẹ́ fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn kàkà kí a ṣe ọkàn akin dáadáa lẹ́ẹ̀kan ká fa gbogbo tó bá fẹ́ fà gbogbo sùúrùtù tó bá fẹ́ fà ká fàdélẹ̀. Ẹni no a fi kọ́ Jésù lọ́rùn àwọn ọmọ Israẹli nísìn wọ́n fi kọ́ Jésù lọ́rùn ẹ máa parọ́ tọ́ra yín. Mo yóò yà ni mo sọ lẹ́ máa jẹ. Let's continue. Àtúnyàbàrà sí bíbá ẹni ibi tá à ń lọ kọ́kọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀ kọ́ lè àyàbàrà sí bíbá ẹni èyí tí bàbá wa torí kò ń ṣe wọ́n ṣe bàbá tèmi so bàbá yín ìyẹn bàbá wa Adébóyè èyí tó sọ ni mo fẹ́ lọ mú jáde kò torí kálukú ló mọ bàbá tiẹ̀ but ẹ jẹ́ ẹ̀ lọ mú nǹkan tó sọ ẹgbẹ́ nǹkan tí bàbá yín sọ ní bíbá.
When you see, I'm sure you have been watching the campaign rallies. I watch it in the news. I don't know if you have noticed that two different people don't hold their campaign simultaneously in a town. Have you noticed that? You don't know why. Because majority of the crowd, the majority are rented. So I come, I pay, you gather.
After I've gone, another man comes, he pays, you gather. Somebody said, Daddy, you keep on saying that you haven't heard from God about who will win or who will. Maybe because there are several things occupying my mind. And one of it is when I see the crowd gathering, and if you look at the crowd, majority of them are young. When I see the hundreds of thousands of youth, you have to be jobless to be attending all these rallies. What's going to happen when the campaigns are over and there's nobody to rent anymore? I don't know whether I should say this. When you see, I'm sure you have been watching the...
And that is your father in the Lord, Pastor Gio, that also says God has not told him yet who should be the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, kọ́lọ̀ àwọn tó jí kọ́lọ̀ ń jẹ́ kí wọ́n rí owó tó máa fi gbára wọn sílẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ Fulani terrorists tí ó kidnap wọn. Let's come back to Sudan one more time. On October 25th, 2021, ìlú yẹn led to a civilian cabinet that was overthrown by a coup. Just as I've been saying that there is probability before now and then that there will be a coup in Nigeria. We're still looking and waiting if those that are planning it will execute it. Tó bá executed, fine. Tó bá executed, that means they are under pressure as well. Because everything is under pressure in Nigeria now, as Raskimono say, under pressure, under pressure. Very good morning and happy Sunday. It is the 8th day of January 2023, and the time is just 5 minutes before 11 a.m. And you're watching a live transmission where we are discussing the way forward to our actualization of Yoruba nation, should we want to. Bá wà nínú chat group yìí, in any of the WhatsApp group, that you're all doing very well, sending different articles, different videos. Hey, voice note. Voice note tó jáde yẹn, ó rà pé new release ni o. Ìyẹn tún lè ju tí mo gbọ́ ní last, ìyẹn ni ká máa ṣe. Ìyẹn ni ká máa ṣe lórí WhatsApp group o. Ká wá fi gba Yorùbá nation. À ń tanra wa, ìyà tó máa jẹ everybody. Àtàwátà wà níta, àwọn onílé wálé, èyí tẹ́ wà nulẹ̀, economy àṣe ṣége fún yín. Àwọn tó dẹ̀ wà níta, economy ti bite ní outside, especially in UK. Nǹkan tí ń wọ́n ní UK. Economy UK ó ti ń wà tight. So èyí tó yẹ ká send the £30 sí yín, a máa cut it down, a máa send £15 sí yín, torí pé àwa náà ní family ní bíbá ìta ń bọ́, a ní family tá ń take care. So everybody is going to feel the pain. So wá rí ìwọ tó náà ṣe business lọ Nàìjíríà, tó bá yá ò ní lè ṣe business, because the more container tó ń gbé lọ, the more owó tó máa san, ò dẹ̀ ní rí èrè, kò ń ṣe pé àìmọye yìí tẹ́ ti ṣe business ní Nàìjíríà, rí èrè, regretted ọ̀la ni, ìyẹn lẹ́lòmíì ṣe ń kanra. Èmi dẹ̀ kọ́ lẹ máa kanra mọ́, torí èmi kan ní problem anybody. Problem tèmi sọ fún yín, ẹni ẹ fẹ́ lọ through that route, ẹni Ọlọ́run ti dé, tọ́lọ́run bá dẹ̀ ti dé, ẹdí Ọlọ́run mú. Ṣé ìnìkan lẹ mọ Ọlọ́run? Àwọn ọmọ Israel ò mọ Ọlọ́run. Ṣé àwọn ọmọ Israeli ò mọ Ọlọ́run? A ti sọ ìdí tí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì ṣe ń ṣe kí ni tó ṣe máa ń quell the protest. Mo ti sọ fún yín pé global tracker àwọn wà níbẹ̀ láti gbà wá sílẹ̀ nígbà tí wàhálà bá ṣẹlẹ̀. Iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n nìyẹn. And these are the indices. Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ wo global tracker lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí. A week ago, there was anti-Taliban protest. Well, not even a week ago. This was August. Okay, àti lọ ti Nigeria already anyway. Àti sọ ti Nigeria. So let me close this because we don't want the system to crash again. Àti sọ̀rọ̀ nípa watch list. Crisis group. These are groups of different organizations that will be very, very active láti help wa èmi lè má lè help in terms of their message mi but àwọn eléyìí máa pick information yẹn automatically because iṣẹ́ tó ń ṣe nìyẹn this is what they are designed for bẹ́ẹ̀ ni gbogbo ala máa jẹ breakfast èmi ti jẹ́ tèmi èmi náà lose èèyàn tó kú ní January 2nd motor accident lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kódà gbogbo tó wà lára ẹ̀ lọ́tún jí sọ pé Koiki wà lábroad èmi náà ní family nílé ẹ lọ́rọ̀ jẹ pamọ́ ẹ tó bá lówó tó náà jẹ ẹ bá dẹ̀ lówó tá a bá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis ẹ jáde within 1 week tí crisis yẹn bá ń lọ àgbáyé likely pé wọ́n lè donate oúnjẹ fún wa wọ́n máa donate oúnjẹ fún àwọn èèyàn náà níbi tí crisis bá wà tí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ bá pààyàn wọ́n máa ní there has to be what they call a ceasefire láti ṣẹlẹ̀ tí ceasefire bá dẹ̀ ti ṣẹlẹ̀ wọ́n á ní kọ́ra ìgbóúnjẹ wọlé at least ìwọ tó tẹ̀lé oúnjẹ jẹ tẹ́lẹ̀ oúnjẹ á máa wọlé fún ẹ but the moment tí yẹn bá ti ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ kò sí Nàìjíríà mọ́ nìyẹn but ẹ bá ti fún ààyè pé kí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì continue gbogbo wa la máa jẹ breakfast. Under the considerable international pressure kò tí sí international pressure lórí Nàìjíríà because kò sí crisis reinstated the prime minister under considerable international pressure Armed Forces Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reinstated the Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok on 21st of November. That concession did little. Ẹ̀gbọ́n kan tó sọ pé ìtọ́ṣe yẹn o nígbà yẹn o kò mollify the protester furious about the military power grab. Àwọn ò sí nínú military rule ní Nàìjíríà but a wà nínú 1999 constitution tí military dá sílẹ̀ a dẹ̀ wà nínú ìtàn pè ní the 1914 amalgamation ìdí tá a ṣe fi dá crisis sílẹ̀ nìyẹn and it's our right so ẹ má jẹ́ kí èèyàn kan deceive yín pé ọ̀nà tí à ń sọ yìí is not the right way. Nigeria is a crazy country. Yeah, Nigeria is in a debt of 77 trillion. Olúkálùkù ló dẹ̀ máa ìwọ tó náà jẹ gbèsè Nàìjíríà wàá mọ̀ pé o ní debt tó máa san fún Nàìjíríà tó bá yá. Let's continue. Hamdok unable to forge consensus between the street and the generals or to agree with the military on the shape of the new technocratic cabinet resigned in frustration on 2nd of January. Difficult days lie ahead should the military persist with its crackdown on the popular resistance to his rule. Sudan leleyo ṣé àwọn orí méjì làwọn ní. The generals have taken the number of steps to strengthen their grip on power. Days after dissolving the cabinet, Burhan will constitute Sudan executive branch, the sovereign council, replacing a civilian official with Islamic from the party of long-term dictator President Omar Bashir. Chemabi tó wà nísìn is serving a lot of problem. Bobo Bashir. For all the atrocity tó ṣe, mo fẹ́ lọ mú bí tó wà nísìn. Let's go and do a bit of search on his name. This is the guy that was running the affair in Sudan. Ó rò pa lágbára lòun. Just as gbogbo àwọn politician yìí olórí burúkú tó yẹ kó lè ní gbogbo wọn. Ó rò pa àwọn wà powerful. But ó dìgbà tára ìlú bá sọ fún wọn pé àwa la wà powerful jù yín lọ. But àwọn ò fẹ́ yẹn. But a fẹ́ máa wo result tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ níta. But a fẹ́ máa fi gbogbo ti ọ̀dọ̀ tiwa fẹ́ fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn. Everything a fẹ́ fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo a bit of níbo ni bọ̀bọ́ ìwà nísìn. Sudan Bashir takes responsibility for 1989 coup. Àní Buhari bó ṣe wà yẹn dead or alive ó sì máa lọ ẹ̀wọ̀n. Eléyìí ti wà ní ẹ̀wọ̀n nísìn. Omar Bashir faces charges of undermining Sudan constitutional order by staging the 1989 coup. Èmi sọ fún yín pé ẹ jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ crisis kí crisis yẹn wá lead to shutdown of the government and then any government tó bá tún wá gbé ọwọ́ in between crisis yẹn problem ẹ̀ máa pọ̀ sí because ó máa lọ ṣẹ̀wọ̀n. Eléyìí ṣẹ̀wọ̀n lọ́wọ́. He was once a powerful guy nígbà kan. I don't think some of you understand how powerful this man was ní Sudan. Ó ń jayé káyé ni ayé tí bàbá ẹ̀ ò lè jẹ ló ń jẹ nígbà yẹn. But now he's 79 years old. Ẹ má rò pé èèyàn kan dàgbà kò lè lọ sí prison a máa wọ́ gbogbo yín dé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. 79 years old. Àdúrà táwọn àgbà fún Bashir yìí nísìnyí pé kó má kú kó pẹ́ sẹ́wọ̀n dáadáa. Kódà èmi fẹ́ kó di 90 sẹ́wọ̀n kó lè mọ bára ṣe ń ni aráàlú nígbà tó ń ni wọ́n lára. So tẹ́mi bá ń pariwo láti 3 years pé tí a fẹ́ gbà Nàìjíríà difficult gan tí kò bá sí wàhálà à lọ anywhere but àwọn kan ò fẹ́ jẹ́ kẹ́ ṣe wàhálà wọ́n fẹ́ fi kọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ́rùn wọ́n fẹ́ fi kọ́ Jésù lọ́rùn and that is the reason why everything is slowing down. Very powerful. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ̀gbọ́n mi Ṣẹ́gun ọ̀nà this man agbára tó lò ní Sudan mo rò pé Nigerian politician kan lò ó ń jayé bíi royal king ní kò rẹ̀ ń ṣe king ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ bí tó wà nísìn according to this news and this news is just under how many days ago ẹ jẹ́ kí n lọ wò 2022 just December ni headline yìí but àwọn èèyàn nísìn ní tó máa easy fún èmi náà wá tó easy but Nigeria ò easy láti kúrò nínú ẹ̀ Koiki ni way forward crisis ni way forward okay and bí crisis yẹn máa ṣẹlẹ̀ ní pé gbogbo wa máa wọ́ síta ni a máa wọ́ síta ni wọ́n lè pa gbogbo wa tán. Outside Sudanese President Omar Bashir on Tuesday announced ó fara ẹ̀ ó bí kọ́kọ́ ní choice money so ti wà ní prison so ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí confess ẹ rí i pé gbogbo àwọn tẹ̀yìn rò pé àwọn politician wọ́n máa confess nígbà tó bá ti fún wọn sínú ebi ike kéré máa dùn wọ́n ní prison nísìn àbẹ̀tí ẹ ti gbàgbé ní ẹ wo agbára tó ní Nàìjíríà ike kéré máa is now ó sì wà ní prison kódà wọ́n fún ní bail máa yìí ẹ imagine bó ṣe wà nísìn bí ó ṣe máa bọ́ nínú tó wà nínú ẹ̀ wá ti oríṣiríṣi babaláwa ti gbawó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ oríṣiríṣi àfáà ti gbawó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ wá ti wá marabot káàkiri gbogbo àgbáyé pé àní kéèsì tó fẹ́ ṣe ní London ìkọlọ̀ jẹ́ kọ́ dànù irọ́ dẹ̀ nípa wọ́n lè dá ẹni tì mí ó máa ṣe kéèsì wọ́n máa bá fa kéèsì ẹ̀ délẹ̀ this man ẹ̀yin lẹ́ ń rò pé èèyàn ni wọ́n ṣé èèyàn wá ní nísìn nígbà tó ti mú mọ́lẹ̀ ní London láti last year court deny his bail pé no a lè deny ọ a lè fún ní bail. This was again olele the criminal court ní London imagine power tó ní Nàìjíríà kò ní power mọ́ nísìn because a ti gba power yẹn kúrò lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ìjà lè gba power kúrò lọ́wọ́ àwọn ìjọba tó wà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ nísìn náà we have a power in our hands as Yoruba people but à ń dúró de màláìkà kó wá bá wa sort it out. Again, London court denied Ike Ikeremadu bail condition. The court further argued that flight risk, especially because Mr. Ike Ikeremadu is a passport holder of 2 other countries aside from Nigeria. So only passport ìlú mi, can you imagine? So tó bá release ẹmọ tí court yẹn tó máa rí court yẹn sọ pé no ẹ bá release boy àti seize Nigerian passport ẹ lóòótọ́ because only Nigerian passport ẹ ni wọ́n fi mú mọ́lẹ̀ from definitely what they are saying now. So if Ike Ikeremadu was travelling with a visa with a Nigerian passport wọ́n ti gba Nigerian passport ó likely pé bóyá ó ní passport ìlú míì bí àwọn Caribbean tó ti lọ fowó gba ìlú citizenship yẹn and he can easily travel through the road wọ́n máa mọ bó ṣe máa gbé kọjá all he needs to do is tó bá ṣàtìlẹ̀ kúrò nínú border UK kékeré ní tó kù á máa travel lọ journey tó bá kù and wọ́n deny ẹ̀ wọ́n ní because ó wà flight risk ó lè sá lọ tó bá sọ pé yàn flight risk ó lè sá lọ ló ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ because Mr. Ike Ikeremadu imagine ó ní Nigerian passport as a Nigerian politician tó lówó lọ́wọ́ ó tún lọ gba passport ìlú mi because ó ń wo safety tiẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn family tiẹ̀ ṣèbí yẹn ló ṣe fẹ́ wá ṣe kidney donor àbí kidney fún ọmọ ẹ̀ níbí báyìí. So àwọn máa ń wá in tó máa ràn àwọn lọ́rùn but àwa la gbọ́dọ̀ inconvenient gbogbo àwọn politician yẹn from Lagos to Oyo state to Ogun state to Kwara state to Kogi state to Osun state to Ekiti state to Ondo state a gbọ́dọ̀ inconvenient gbogbo àwọn governors yẹn because àwọn governor yìí gangan ṣèbí Akérédolú ó ṣe campaign fún Tinubu lánàá ní Ondo state ẹ wo ó ti wà frail mo sọ fún yín pé Akérédolú tèmi mọ̀ kọ́ lórí ó sick but kò ní sọ̀rọ̀ àìsàn tó ń ṣe ibẹ̀dẹ̀ ló máa fẹ́ kú sí tó bá ṣe tán nísìn á tún máa wá pòsíṣọ̀nì míì bí a ti Tinubu bá débẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ òun náà jẹ́ mínísítà ṣèbí mínísítà ní Fáyẹmí kó tó tún padà wá ṣe gọ́vnà kí lórí ṣe nísìn gbogbo yẹn ọmọ Èkìtì kò rí nǹkan kan ṣe. And at the end of the day everybody is waiting. Everybody is waiting for a miracle. I like miracle gan ní Nàìjíríà. miracle ṣé wọ́n ti rí prophecy ṣé wọ́n ti ríran ṣá ṣé wọ́n ti ríran sí Yorùbá nation ṣé wọ́n ti àníkà kọ́kọ́ rọ́ jáde náà kó tó máa ríran oríṣiríṣi ìran oríṣiríṣi àríran báyìí àníkà kọ́kọ́ wọ́ síta so tẹ́ bá rò pé wọ́n lágbára. The Central Criminal Court in London has again denied Nigerian lawmaker Ike Ekeremadu bail, insisting that ó lè sá lọ. Ẹ jẹ́ àmú mọ́lẹ̀ sí bíbá. Let me close that. Ẹ jẹ́ ká padà sí àti sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ilé nǹkan. Let me close that. Ẹni tí ó bá ní family tó bá ti kidnap lórí training ẹ tètè lọ́wọ́ owó tẹ máa fi yanjú ẹ̀. A padà sára bàbọ́ì à ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa Omar Bashir. Ó ní agbára gan. Kódà agbára tó lò ó lò ní 1989 láti fi ṣe kú. Òun ló confess fúnra rẹ̀ nísìn. Ẹgbọ́n nǹkan tó sọ. Ousted Sudanese president Omar al-Bashir on Tuesday announced his full responsibility for the event of the 1989 coup d'etat that brought him and 27 of his aides to power. Láti 1989 ló ti wà nínú ìjọba kábíyèsí Elédùmarè. Ó tó di pé àwọn aráàlú wá sọ pé no, we no go gree o, we no go gree. Gbogbo tó bá gbà la máa fún. I bear the full responsibility for the event of the June 1989 event, al-Bashir said during a trial section as aired by the state television. The former president cited several achievements since he came to power in 1989. Just as Buhari is telling you now that he has done a Niger bridge, he has done this, Buhari actually destroyed the civilian government of Shagari in 1984 or 1983 rather. We invited 77 party leaders for dialogue after the 1989 event with the aim of restoring peace to the country, al-Bashir said. We had great success. We wanted to serve the Sudanese people, and our goal was not power. Irolupa, he said, denying any role for civilians in carrying out the 1989 coup. Al-Bashir faces charges of undermining Sudan constitutional order by staging the 1989 coup. On the 30th of June 1989, al-Bashir staged a military coup against the government of the Prime Minister al-Sadiq al-Mahdi and ruled the country under what he named the National Salvation Revolution. The former president is currently held in Koba prison in Khartoum after being found guilty of corruption in December 2019. Al-Bashir ruled Sudan for 30 years and was removed from power by the military in 2019 following mass protest. Àgbẹ̀ kì í má kó wa jáde o. Ṣé owó lo need? O ti need owó àbí? Ìyẹn ló ṣe ń pariwo ká ṣe protest. At least I am 6 hours away from Nigeria. The worst case scenario is tí bá ní di gàrí Ìjẹ̀bú, màá ní kọ́ bá mi máa gbé bọ̀. Kí ló ń pè ní mass protest? Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ wo mí nìyẹn. Mass protest. It is a mass protest often involved in a total shutdown of workplace, office, country, shop, court of law as a form of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience. Ìtàn pè ní mass protest nìyẹn. Civil disobedience. This is the example is from Wikipedia and may be reused under a CC by SA license. The project has caused the mass protest of the town of the people. What is the meaning of protest? To show or express strong disagreement with or disapproval of something. Ṣé I agree pẹ̀lú Nàìjíríà? Ìbéèrè ni o. Do we all agree with Nàìjíríà? Ṣé dádì tiẹ̀ wà níbẹ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n sign amalgamation? Ṣé mọ́mì tiẹ̀ wà níbẹ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n sign the military decree of the 1999 constitution tí gbogbo wọn fẹ́ wá lò nísìnyí? What is a public protest? A protest, also called a demonstration, a remonstration, a remonstrance, is a public expression of an objection, disapproval, or dissent towards an idea or action, typically a political one. Who do you call someone who protests? Ẹ jẹ́ ká òbí akọ̀lẹ̀ mú fídíò kan jáde. Again, màá tún rán yín létí ti 1989 is still one of the most talked protests around the world. Èwo lélẹ̀? Moment of the wind. àwọn òyìnbó ń protest, àwọn aráàlú kan protest, àwa wá ń wá Ọlọ́run tó máa bá wa ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. Ọlọ́run bọ̀ o. Èwo làwọn eléyìí? Introduction of dominant. Mo kàn fi lọ mú kan jáde. Massive protest in Paris. Àwọn náà máa protest, but àwa nísìnyí wọ́n ní kan fáwọn pé no, ẹ má protest o. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo French strike continue growing fuel shortages.
After more than 3 weeks of strikes at most of France's oil refineries, signs of a breakthrough. French companies Total Energy and 2 trade unions agreed to a 7% pay rise and one-off bonus for workers.
Ṣẹ̀gbọ́n, after a long protest, nígbà tí epo lọ mọ́ nínú àwọn company tó ń ṣe epo, kí ló ṣe? Wọ́n agree pẹ̀lú àwọn workers wọn. Ṣáwa náà lè jáde fún rally, ṣá lè jáde. Now, voice note olúkálukú ń send káàkiri. Bígbà tẹ́ pé voice note yẹn máa solve problem tó wà nílẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká máa tanra wa. Mo tún fẹ́ lọ mú ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ mú mass protest, ká kọ́ mú mass protest jáde. Mass protest in Iran, even though pé ìlú jágbajàgba, àwọn náà wọ́n burú bí ṣọ̀pọ̀ náà nílùú yẹn, Iran, but àwọn obìnrin wọ́n fa wàhálà pé sẹ́ ẹni máa kú, ẹni máa yè, but àwọn ò fẹ́ kú. Àwa ò fẹ́ kú, à ń wá free way là ń wá bá ṣe máa délẹ̀ Yorùbá. Èmi náà wà kọ́lọ́njà rí ni bọ̀ kò ṣe nínú Nàìjíríà. We're gonna start winding down in just about a few minutes. Ẹ má bínú ànígbà call lẹ́nu lórí program mi. So, bàbá open call now is still the same thing.
Shut down the internet all across the country as it brutally cracks down on massive protests. Iran's military now issuing a chilling warning as the demonstrations escalate. The army calling the protesters enemies and ready to confront them.
Ṣẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ wo bá ṣe pẹ̀lú bá ṣe mọ́ mi wá fún wọn. Ẹ wòran àwọn obìnrin lélẹ́yìí.
After the Iranian government's morality police arrested her for wearing what they called unsuitable attire. Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, the Iranian regime has required all women to wear a headscarf and loose-fitting clothing to disguise their figures in public. The Biden administration now adjusting sanctions against Iran to give Iranians access to internet services and tools that will help them get around government surveillance and censorship.
Ẹ̀gbọ́n kan tó sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn, Joe Biden àwọn tó ṣe nǹkan tí ó máa jẹ́ kí íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì máa ṣiṣẹ́ lọ. Àbẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́n tó sọ, ṣé kí n rìn wáìnì kẹgbọ́? Ṣé kí n rìn? Àwọn máa short internet Mr. Koiki o, àní ní íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì fi communicate. No, irọ́ nìyẹn sẹ́. Satellite ní a máa ṣiṣẹ́ tẹ máa fi rí íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì lò. Àwa ni ká kọ́kọ́ bọ́ síta. Ẹ fọ̀rọ̀ náà sílẹ̀. Ẹ má fi gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ lọ́rùn.
Now adjusting sanctions against Iran to give Iranians access to internet services and tools that will help them get around government surveillance.
Ṣẹ̀gbọ́n internet access and tools pé kọ́ lè fi gẹ́tà. So tí crisis bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà, tí Nàìjíríà bá sọ fún MTN kó paná, kó sọ fún Global, kó sọ fún Airtel, kó sọ fún ìwúlò tó wà níbẹ̀, Zain or whatever, then the world will say àwọn náà ní satellite. Ẹ bá send satellite lọ sí Nàìjíríà, àfihàn tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ níbẹ̀. But we are all running away from the reality. Olùkàlùkù wa bèrè kí ni way forward Mr. Koiki, kí ni way forward? Ẹ̀yin náà jẹ́ ká gba Yorùbá nation. Ṣé èmi ni mo jẹ́ ká gba Yorùbá nation ní last year nígbà tí wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń da gbogbo nǹkan rú lọ́nà ta ní ká tò lọ ká push pressure cooker la máa fi fọ́ Nàìjíríà. But no, ẹ má jẹ́ ká fi pressure ṣe o. Jésù Kristi ti dé o, Ànábì Muhammed ti dé o, àwọn oníṣẹ̀ṣe ti dé o, ẹ jẹ́ ká ra máa tọ̀ lọ díẹ̀díẹ̀ o, ẹ jẹ́ ká fi paperwork ṣe o, no, ọ̀nà tẹ́tẹ́ gbà yẹn a máa pa àwọn èèyàn wa, àwọn èèyàn yìí tó ti padà nù lójoojúmọ́. Tuesday and 2nd January, a cousin of mine died in Nigeria for a motor accident that he could have survived. Kódà gbogbo tó wà lára ẹ̀gbọ́n lọ́tún jí ìlú òṣì.
The Iranian government staged its own pro-government counter-demonstrations. The crowd calling for àwọn
èmi ló kàn láwọn ilé nísìnyí tá a bá jáde nísìnyí àwọn kan náà jáde no Nigeria is good o Nigeria àwọn gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì ní Iran náà ṣe yẹn kí ló ń ṣe yẹn wọ́n ń kọ́ẹ̀lì protest tí ó wà against the government àtayébáyé nìyẹn máa ti ń wáyé. So pé tá a bá jáde fún Yorùbá nation rally nísìnyí ẹ̀rọ àwọn tó máa wà against it is normal. Àtayébáyé nìyẹn.
The execution of the protesters. Let's bring in Mashi Ahmadinejad. She's an Iranian-American reporter and activist for women's causes. Mashi, it's so good to have you. We've seen these Iranian regime crush of protests with brutality and deadly crackdowns before. How do you see this movement shaping up?
This movement is gaining momentum. Right now that I'm talking to you, the holy city of Iran, Qom, which is, all the clerics are there. People are in the streets. They are angry. Mahsa, he was only 22-year-old, and she was beaten by hijab police just because of a bit of her. So that made a huge anger among society across Iran. Iranian women taking to the streets shoulder to shoulder with men. They're burning their headscarves, and some of them cutting their hair, some of them burning the police van. Because
can you talk about how dangerous that sort of action is? Women showing it, burning it, forget it.
Yes, look, right now that I'm talking to you, Iranian government shut down the internet. They killed more than, I don't know, so 1,500 people, more than 50 people, or because we don't know the numbers, but many people got killed right now. There are many women among them. So this is the way the Iranian regime tried to show the rest of the world that Mahsa was not killed. But at the same time, they're killing people. Look, Iranian people asking the Western countries, this is the time. You have to hear them because they are being cut from...
Terry, this is the kind of headline we want to see. The government is killing the Yoruba people. Why? Why? Then they will start looking for people that can come and speak. Not the but they will find people. Because take the time before journalists will contact somebody like, reader, myself, anybody, even in any part of the world, and say, what's going on in Nigeria? But Awanwa, the easy part. Anwa, the easiest part. And there's nothing easy in the world. Àwọn ilé ìjáde nísìnyí wọ̀ lórí méjì. As we're going to be winding down the program in just about a few minutes.
Internet, and now they are asking the world, help them to have access to internet, help them actually to be heard. Most important than this, Ibrahim Raisi, the murderer of these people, were here, welcomed in America this week. And that is why Iranian people demanding more. Believe me, a world without the Islamic Republic is going to be a better place.
Monty, we all remember the Bloody November protests back in 2019, the Green Movement protests in 2009, all stopped with really horrible crackdowns by the Iranian government. Could this be different, and if so, how and why?
Look, as you mentioned,
All right.
So 1,500 people got killed in Bloody November. So you see, people are aware of the risk.
So as we, I'm not sure whether I still have anything to touch on. What's this one before we start winding down? Well, I actually looked into this as well. Popular protests are political reform in Africa, but I didn't log in. Just again, regarding protests in Africa. By the late 1980s, Africa joined the international clamor for democracy, already ringing through the Eastern Europe, Latin America, and part of Asia. While popular unrest had long been an intermittent feature of African politics, the collapse of the Berlin Wall, and along with the Leninist one-party rule and the bipolar world order, inspired mass protests and challenged incumbent leaders as never before. In and around 1990, citizens took to the street of capital cities in some 16 sub-Saharan African countries to express discontent with economic hardship, political repression, and to demand civic reforms. Government in the region faced pressure for political challenge on the scale unprecedented since the dilution of the colonial rule 30 years earlier. In response, between November 1989 and May 1991, at least 21 governments adopted significant reform measures to permit greater pluralism and competition within the polite, multi-party elections were actually held for the first time in a generation in 5 African countries. Richard Scala daring prediction that Africans would come to prefer a vicissitude of democracy to the stifling abuse of developmental dictatorship began to be brilliantly vindicated. The dynamic process of protest and reform is a nascent in Africa, and the future course of regime transition is highly uncertain. But the moment is opportune to attempt a preliminary identification of emergent landmarks, while half cracks appear in the edifice of authoritarian rule in so many countries of the region. By what process of struggle and accommodation is power being divided in a monopolistic political system? What are the prospects for the emergency and consolidation of democratic forms of government? There's no democracy in Nigeria, and everybody's denying and thinking that 2023 will solve our problem. In the present paper, we undertake 3 tasks. First, we catalog the characteristics of the recent political process in sub-Saharan Africa, focusing on the turbulent spring of the 1990s. Second, we analyze the nature of the government response, noting the range of political reform initiatives undertaken by African leaders, and recording backlash, crackdown, reverse where they occur. Finally, and most important, we seek to explain why the political firmament is shifting in Africa after a prolonged period of institutional stasis. So all these are part of the, what they call journal or paper that people have written around popular protest and political reform in Africa. I'll share the link for those of you that would like to read a bit further. Again, I looked at 2021. Major protests that hit Africa in the last 2 years. Not last year, but 2021. Mali was one of those countries. Ghana, Burkina Faso. All these came out, last year. As every one of us need to understand that if you don't protest, if you don't come out, nobody is going to help you to solve your problem. So, this
Hundreds of Senegalese
Senegal.
to the street of the country's capital, Dakar, in
2021,
accusing the government of subjecting opposition figures to lengthy detentions. Many of the protesters directed their anger at President Macky Sall, who has been accused of interfering in judicial cases to suit his political interest. I came first to mark my solidarity with the citizens, demands concerning a 2-tier justice system in the country, a justice system that refuses to become serious when it comes to dealing with cases concerning activists.
So, these are just some of the events that happened. I believe this was in Ghana, this one was in DRC, this one was in Tigray. I talked about that before, and and so on and so forth. What is this? It's incident of some of the atrocity and the crime going on in Yoruba land today. This guy was picked up from Lagos. I don't know whether some of you have seen this video. He was actually picked up from Lagos. He found himself right in Akure. Hey, imagine can you moto leko? Could have been near Akure. I do not own the copyright to this video.
Wọ́n ti dáwà kọlẹ̀ ṣe polisi làwọn ọ̀rẹ́ ti gbàṣọ wa wọ́n ti gbọ́ aṣọ àti ṣòkòtò kò sọ́wọ́n gbé máa lọ́sí my nakedness or whatever I'm part of well or boxer whatever wọ́n ti gbà naked ṣe yọ sí sọ wá sọ wá ṣe lérè wọ́n lè gbé báyìí bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n kò bẹ̀rẹ̀. Sunday, on the green. Again, Oshada, Sunday, so people on the just the sheet. As my way to see the first time, was the first time more because more we won't take a celebrity or something that's serious, Ben. So, we have to do for more. Ben. What's your ọkùnrin obìnrin kan wà lẹ́yìn wa lára àwọn obìnrin kan wà lẹ́yìn wa lára àwọn mẹ́fà àwọn lára àwọn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ ìwọlẹ̀ ṣe é tó mọ̀ pé
normal bí wọ́n ṣe pé orí ọkùnrin àwọn obìnrin ní pariwo tó yẹ kí ní agbára kan ní náà àjọ ìṣẹ̀mọ̀ pé wọ́n fi pariwo so ó kọ̀ mú àdá pẹ̀tẹ̀pẹ̀tẹ̀ tó kọ̀ fi nù lọ. ní kí wọ́n á lo ṣe máa ń wà lẹ́yìn rẹ̀ wọ́n fi máa ń wọlé tó pariwo rẹ̀. gáàjì tó máa ń gun mọ́tò mo ṣe ní ìjọ ọlọ́pàá tẹ́ máa mọ̀ bẹ́yẹn. mo fẹ́ cross solar side. Kórópè ẹ̀kọ́ wà all those minibus it was painted in yellow àwọn kórópè àwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ ọ̀gbìn ní Lagos kọlọ̀. Ó yẹ kò páàkì ó tẹ slow afáàṣọ lọ ni kò páàkì ó tẹ slow bí n kì í ó slow down afáàṣọ lọ ni. And you know all those normal bus ọmọ máa chanti ibìkan lọ ní ìlú ṣe wọlé kí ní kan wọlé bọ́sí yẹn kò sọ ibi tí ó ń lọ pàtó ó yà fún aṣọ ń lọ ni bó sọ́sọ́ fún àwọn pé aṣọ ń lọ báwo. Hey, this is pretty crazy. You gotta check it out. So
he ended up found himself in Akure, láti Lagos State. Ẹ káfọ́ bọ̀ díẹ̀ sí and then I'm gonna end the video from here.
Ayé mo ṣe wọlé. Ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn mo ṣe wọlé. So bọ́lá ti sọ̀rọ̀ sí exactly. So nígbà tí mi ò wọ́n sẹ́yìn àwọn bọ́sẹ̀ ṣẹ̀ ní mọ́tò yẹn nígbà àwọn ẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀. Mo ṣe wá yìí pọ̀lú bá mo ṣe wá pẹ̀lẹ́ ẹsẹ̀ bá gbogbo báyìí. So ní mọ́tò yẹn mo rí ṣe seat mẹ́ta ní gbogbo máa ní. Dírẹ́fà wájú àárín àti last one. So ti dírẹ́fà àti ẹjọ́ wájú àmì ìdìbò sùn. They were not sleeping. They were in the middle. Ẹnìkan tó kò sí middle side yẹn ti sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹni tó jókòó sẹ́nu ọ̀nà ló kù ló sọ pé ṣáfà ṣó ń lọ. Ní ẹ̀yìn náà ní last six yẹn ibi middle side yẹn náà àwọn náà wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀. Àwọn mẹ́ta lọ́wọ́ lẹ́yìn ẹ̀yìn ti complete. Bọ́tẹ́ ẹni tó wà lẹ́yìn àbáwọlé yẹn òun ti ẹ̀ tó sùn. Bẹ́ẹ̀ so àwọn mẹ́ta tó wà pẹ̀lú àwọn méjì tó wà pẹ̀lú tó jọ ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn tó wà lẹ́yìn dẹ́gbà ìpínlẹ̀ àárín síta ìpínlẹ̀ síta yẹn wá jẹ́ the last nígbà tó fi pè mí ó ti pè gbà yẹn so mo wọlé wọn náà wọlé ó ti lẹ̀ àti tètè dáhùn ìdẹ́ tí mo fi sùn lọ mi ìmọ̀rún náà ṣàwọn pé àti tí a bá sùn bí sanity process ó máa ń yà á tó ní àwọn àkókò ìdílé sùn lọ láti ṣe pé bí àwọn tó rọ̀ gbìyànjú àbí ọ̀túnṣà mo sọ sísùn yẹn làbá bẹ́ẹ̀ dozov so ohun yẹn làwọn bá dé àgọ́ yìí.
Ọlọ́run jẹ́ ká sun ohun tó máa gbé wa dé destination tá a fẹ́. Ìlú Nàìjíríà lè tún ṣẹlẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ni o ẹ lọ wo fídíò lórí Film Rights News TV we come on the copyright. Let me show you one more protest and this also is in Iran. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo tó ṣẹlẹ̀ níbẹ̀. As Iran protesters demand regime change. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo díẹ̀ náà ẹ̀.
At Tehran University, students gathered to spell out the word blood in Farsi, demanding the fall of the Islamic regime. For 4 weeks, protests, many led by women, have gripped cities across Iran.
It's really impressive that for them, the world...
Kí lẹ rí níbí báyìí? Iran analysts at International Crisis Group. Kí ni mo sọ fún ilé nǹkan? Mo pe kí ni àwọn kan ní kí ni mo pè wọ́n lẹ́ẹ̀kan àwọn dà Crisis Group. I hope I ti delete wọn. We actually talked about them earlier. Kí ni mo pe bíbá International Crisis Group. Bọ̀bọ̀ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí nísìn àwọn ló represent International Crisis Group. That is the job, to get the message out to all the medias around the world, and then it will become a conversation. And as long as Tabashi sọ pé àwọn ò gbà pé àfẹ́ Nàìjíríà mọ̀, then they would have to look into why Nigeria needs to dissolve.
Has been completely destroyed, and they have increasingly nothing to lose, and therefore they are willing to persist.
Past protests such as the 2009 Green Movement failed to bring down the government. but resentment now transcends political divides amid economic crisis and domestic repression, says analyst Benham Ben Taleblu.
Rather than being advocating for one element of the regime, this is the population saying they're done with the regime in its entirety.
So, but they are saying that they are Nigeria, and I guess I've touched on all the areas that we're meant to touch on this morning. I'm not going to take any call this program. Again, those of you, probably you're not aware, there was scores of people, these are numbers, got kidnapped lano, as we say on this platform all the time, my job here is to continue to educate you and prepare your mind that if truly we want to get out of Nigeria, the responsibility lies in the hands of every single one of us, including myself, playing different roles so that we can get our freedom out of Nigeria. I have a very great Sunday ahead. I will definitely not be coming back out later on today, but I'll be back sometime tomorrow. Have a blessed Sunday. As you pray in your church, don't pray for Nigeria. There's no point. You have been praying for Nigeria for the last 62 years and it has failed you. And those of you going for Asalatu and waste time around, and I'm not talking to those in Nigeria. We have a lot of people in UK. They come pray for Nigeria. Nigeria da inshallah. Alhamdulillah, and waste time around. Nigeria only that. Toba madane you see para lole. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń pray for Nigeria. Ìwọ náà máa béèrè pé lájọ́ ta ti ń pray for Nigeria yìí ní UK ní bíbá nínú àwọn àsàlátù wa. Kí ló dé tẹ́ lọ́lé? Gbogbo ti gbé ní bíbá nísìn. I don't have another country, but a lot of you that live in UK, you have lived here, you cannot go back. You have become stuck in this country. Nobody can go anywhere. So, kí lẹ ṣe wá ń pray fún Nàìjíríà fún? Okay, tí ń pray nísìn torí pé Tinubu ló máa jẹ president yín àbí Tinubu ló máa jẹ president. You are wasting your time. Tinubu cannot solve Nigeria problem. Àbátíkù ẹ̀yin ti PDP nínú àsàlátù yín. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kí Àtíkù wọlé. Óyá ẹ̀kẹ́ Fátíà. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Arrahmanirrahim. Wasting your time. Nigeria ti lulẹ̀ kò lè ṣiṣẹ́. Àbí Peter Obi lè dìbò fún. You are all fooling yourself in all this congregation. Anybody tó bá ń pray fún Nigeria, you are part of the problem. Especially those of you outside. Ẹ kúkú mọ̀ pé yín ò lè lọlé anyway. Ẹ má dá wọn lóhùn àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá nation yẹn, but ẹ̀yin yóò kó sá abroad. Níbi tó wà convenient fún yín, even though bá mọ̀ pé kó wà convenient, because comfort gbogbo wa ẹ̀jẹ̀ mo yóò yà àwọn family yín. Ṣá má lọlé because tó bá lọlé ó lè jẹ́ orí tiẹ̀ lọ́ máa gbé bọ́lẹ̀. Ọlọ́run ló mọ round tó set up àwọn bọ̀bọ́ yẹn nísìn. Imagine nínú Lagos state lọ́ ti gbé ó bá rẹ̀ l'Ákúrẹ́. Ẹ wo distance yẹn. Ṣé ó wá sùn láti Lagos state ni? Ọlọ́run ló mọ irú nǹkan tó lò fún wọn. Ó sùn kó Àkúrẹ́ ló ti lajú. Àkúrẹ́ ló náà ti lajú. Máa sọ pé máa yín mú. Ṣègbè tó oní document tó fi ń travel lọ Nàìjíríà ló ṣe fi pé Nàìjíríà wà okay. It's no problem. Ẹni tó lọlé ní Christmas kan ní Anambra Ọ̀tìpá Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó pàwọ́ o. But ẹni tó ń ṣòwò ẹ̀gbọ́n wa Gbénga Owólabí ó kúrò náà lọlé. Boko Haram terrorists wọ́n gbé ọjì gbé. So if anybody is praying for Nigeria, you are wasting your energy. My name is OLAMILEKAN. Happy Sunday to those of you out there. And this is how far we can go this morning. Have a very good morning or good afternoon for those of you that are watching it from Nigeria. Bye for now. ṣiṣẹ́ ìkẹjẹ ẹ̀sìn kíkò ìmọ́lẹ̀ ìjàdúláwọ̀.
Life is so funny. You become united, then fight for everything, and later leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful.